All right, so this is kind of what I was looking for. I want to see if we're gonna bounce. Let me bring it down a little bit. I got I'm part of a trading group, so you hear them in the background. But if you watch my watch list, what I was looking for is a retest. Now, when we got into this area, it was a little dicey. I couldn't tell what we were trying to do. You see the volume declined in that period of time, and then we had a red candle come in. So now I'm trying to see if we're going to come back in here and actually bounce. But this is starting to show that there's enough weakness. There's enough sellers present where we might actually reject here. You see we're bouncing this. My purple line here is actually VWAP. Let me see if we zoom in a little bit. Purple line here is actually VWAP, and you can see this is QQQ. So QQQ is the one taking the bath today. Looks like of the individuals, Tesla was pushing it down, and we also had some weakness in NVIDIA. So now I'm watching carefully to see what we're going to do. So it looks like we may be bouncing, but it's hard to tell because it's been choppy. So this is not a clean entry. Now I could have taken a quick scalp when I first saw us come down here and taken it up and gotten a nice little penny. But I like bigger moves. So this move here didn't even make it to my first price target. So now you can see we're doing some chopping, and this is what makes trading such a tough thing. In the background, you might hear some people from the group that I'm a part of. They're doing some discussion of what's happening. A couple of those traders have already taken trades. Let me cut it down a little bit. They've already taken some trades. One unprofitable, one profitable. So now I'm sitting here watching to see what we're going to do. So I'm going to pause it. And if I come up on a trade, then I will institute it again and we'll see. Yeah, I think I want to pass on this pre-market bounce. I'm just feeling like the numbers or what I'm seeing. It seems like it's really resistant of the previous all-time high. Really need to move this up also. So I think I'm going to pass on the bounce. So now I got to find a whole new strategy. So this is one of the challenges of trading. You come in with a game plan, but the market may give you something different, and you got to look around and see if any of your other setups present itself. If I come up on anything, I'll come back and let you guys know. So we're back a few minutes after, we missed the original bounce, which again, I felt like it wasn't behaving in the way that I wanted to, watching how the volume was moving, and a lot of conflicts with traders in my group about what they were thinking about doing. So you can see we're really stuck in a quick range. QQQ is selling off, but what it is the industrials are actually moving up really strong. In fact, the Dow just made a new all-time high. So it's really conflicting data. Times like this, because I'm still a novice, I'm still only 2 years in, I kind of stay away until I see some syncing up with the market. So we'll come back later and see what we see. If you hear the noise behind me, you hear Bookmap. So that's one of the things I use. I don't rely on it. I just use it to look for confluences. QQQ is selling off big time. Probably should have been in QQQ, but I would have wanted a higher reject. So we're going to sit and watch. But this is usually an indication right before SPY catches on. Again, the industrials are still moving up pretty strong. I'm watching my other charts, and looks like the market's just at a conflicting point. Okay, so you can see the market rejected. So glad I didn't take the uptrend entry on the retest of the pre-market high, which was my original plan. See, we had a sell-off. The sell-off was really sparked by what was happening in QQQ. Individually, there were sell-offs in Nvidia and Tesla, which were probably big enough to bring it down. You also have Microsoft down, Netflix down. So a lot of the tech stocks are down. You see we got a little bounce here. I was actually looking for a downtrend entry for today, and I still may. Uh, I would love if we come back up under the pre-market, or even if we touch the 9 EMA. That's what I have here, crossing the 9 EMA and the 21 EMA on the 5-minute. But I'm really wary watching the QQQ kind of look like it's finding its bottom. This candle right here would symbolize we were going down, but there's still a little bit of a bounce. You can also see that SPY or S&P is really kind of following suit now with QQQ. It took a while, and the reason why is the industrials they're really moving up strong. So we've got a lot of counter trend happening. And the reason why I'm really hesitant on this is because the market's been moving up, but in the last 2 to 3 days since CPI, it was showing some weakness. So you can't feel as confident taking a trend direction one way or another. So we're still watching. This has looked like it might be getting ready to do what I want it to do in terms of a rejection here. We really love it here for a safe entry. And in fact, I think we're going to set up. I think we might set it up. All right, passed on entering. We saw a reject here at this spot, but we still are in the chop zone. It's not showing any signs of diminishing. And you can see we did not hit a lower low here before we went to the higher high. It was actually a higher low and then a higher low again. Now it could be here. This is my 200 EMA line or 200 SMA, I'm sorry. And it's the 100. So looking to see if it breaks this, and I might enter for a continuation entry versus the initial reject. Keep in mind, one of the things I'm watching is what's happening with our IV levels and contract movement. Not really seeing a huge swing. This could be a day where I wait to the end of the day. We're at about 10:25 a.m. And so on days like these where I see a lot of chop in the chop zone before we get to the 10:30 point, I think this is on SPX, we're only in the 15-point range or 16-point range. Anytime I see any chop like this, I'm less motivated to trade, and at least in the morning hours. So I'll watch for movement happening later in the day. So now we're at about 10:37. Looks like we're bouncing. You can see right here, 200 SMA line. One of the reasons why I love to keep it, there is some confluence with QQQ because we have previous day's low. And you got some bouncing that's happening there. The real thing that's really kind of screwing it all up is that YM or the Dow is really just going gangbusters to the upside. So the gangbusters to the upside with the conflict of the other indices going down has been what the challenge has been in calling the trade today. So still keeping everything on watch. I'll let you guys know if I get close to taking a trade. See here, one of the things I was looking for is really wanted to see if we were going to really try to reject this level. We see QQQ is still actually holding, but there's just no signs of the Dow or the industrial slowing down. So it's making it complicated. Now it could be that we just go ahead and we break again and see a retest. The real interesting thing will be what happens if DIA starts to fall apart or the Dow starts to fall apart. DIA is the ETF for the Dow, and YM is the future for the Dow. So same thing really. But watching them really closely to see what happens, we're still stuck in a tight range. This is a $1 range. My initial inclination this morning was to go long, but started to see this choppiness come into the market and decided to hold out. Now we're starting to see a strong push up. Contracts still aren't moving a ton with the push up. The volume's kind of low, so we'll see what happens. All right, we're about 10:45. You can see that they bought this whole move right back up. The whole move down on SPY S&P, bought it right back up, hit a higher high on QQQ. You can see that we bottomed pretty much right below yesterday's low of day. Did a bounce, didn't move up as much or as high, so to speak. Rejecting the VWAP. That's our purple line, purple dotted line, 21 EMA. Now, here's the thing. We're now above the 9 EMA, which is actually a good symbol for a short-term trend. Because now in order for a downtrend to really happen, we've got to see a break below that. So it looks to me like we're going to go up. And either we're going to range or we're going to do a slow draw up. YM or DIA, they're actually starting to show a little weakness for the first time really all day. So it's hard to say what's going to happen here. But it's looking like a potential reject could happen here, or we're going to just move on up. Okay, so we're at about 8:30. I did miss a move right here in this area. You can see right here. In this area, I missed that move. What happened was we had a reclaim, pre-market high, reached a new high that came back and retested, took some liquidity, and went up. It looks like we are headed to the downside, and I was actually just looking at taking calls. I wanted a little bit more of a push up. So I thought we would actually get in on this move. It looks like the market is switching now, maybe making an official move to downside. We'll not know unless we break the pre-market high. If we do, then I'm going to take puts and pursue puts all the way down to at least 561.5, seeing as we already bounced to 562.2. Would have actually liked to got in right about here. So we just broke the 9 EMA also to the downside, which is also a good indicator that we're going to see some more downside. We got a lot to make it through. We got to break through the VWAP. Shoot. Would have loved to have been in this trade. Some days you have that happen where you turn away and you look away for a second. Market makes a shift. Okay, so now we're going to watch and see what happens here. If we break and hold below this, I think I'm still going to try to get in with a late entry because I think we might see a huge amount of downside. Okay, we're breaking VWAP. We got to close though. That's the piece. Coincidentally, the 1 minute 200 SMA is also about right here. So I figured this might be a strong reject point. We're starting to see some weakness in the DIA, YM. So we really could see a lot of downside here. Okay, looking for an entry right now. We got to see how this candle closes. or at least get close to the close. This is the 55-minute EMA. I found these EMAs to be the best for me and the style for me watching what I'm doing on a 5-minute chart. I use the 1 minute and the 5 minute, but I'm also watching volume in the 15-minute interval. The reason why I got caught slipping is because we're after 11 o'clock. We're after actually 11:30, and I kind of walked away from the chart for a minute because we get right before lunch. If I miss this, no big problem. I'll just come back and look for something. My target time frame is actually around 12:45. I come back. Okay, that's another one of the traders in the group that I'm just a member of. That's one of the admins talking. Okay, saying some buyback up right here. Still looking. It's kind of going as expected for a downside move. The big piece here is we broke a new low, or we broke a lower low, excuse me, a lower low. So we got about 1 more minute to watch how this candle closes. Starting to see some sell off. Buyers are still fighting strong, but we got some sell off. I need this last candle, this last 1 minute candle to close, and this 5 minute candle to close. See if we might be able to build some momentum. Okay, we're struggling with it. 55. 20 more seconds. Gotta see how we close it. This one might pass me by. Because if we don't close below it, I'm not gonna take it. And if it closes above and then starts the process of the drop, I want to take it. What I do like is the increase in volume here. You see there's an increase in volume right down here. So so that kind of sucks. We closed the 5 minute just above the pre-market high, and we opened above the pre-market high. So both kind of put me off. So it just might not be my trading day here. Some days you have that happen. I'm bummed I missed this though. A little bit bummed. FOMO bummed. But next trade. There'll be another trade for us. 1 and 2. So for me, in terms of what I look for in a trade, should have got this bounce. And then the second thing would have been this move right here where it pushes up. It's kind of my move right there that I'm looking for. A little bit of downtrend, a push up, and then a sell off. And then I should have been entering in somewhere right when it crossed over the open and trailing it down. Still watching this trade. You can see here we got a green bounce. We're only about 2 minutes into this 5 minute candle. But you also see here we got the same kind of candle happening on QQQ, which is giving me could be a bounce. The only thing is we've got the Dow is actually selling off. It's holding its position right now at the 5 minute 21 EMA, but it's got some room down, some serious room down. So if we break this, we can close below this. And now that we've actually tested the 55, there's a good chance we might see more downside. I would love to be a part of a nice sell-off. Oh, we're showing that we're holding. We'll push back up. Now, if you're like me, I used to watch videos like this and I'm wondering, well, why wouldn't you take the bounce there? Because it's unclear. The chart is giving mixed signals. So, yes, it looks like it's bouncing, but this could also be a move to get liquidity and then push back down. So, when you start on a trend and you break through a new low, it becomes very risky on the push back up because it could be just searching for liquidity to go back down. The 15-minute candle on this is still red, and it's still low volume, and we're over halfway through, so hard to say. Overall, that's the other thing about this. Overall, the market's still uptrending, but we're watching. So we're still 20 minutes later, we're still dancing around this pre-market high. You can see I've added a trend line and recognizing that there was a trend on the 15-minute chart. This is a 5-minute chart in front of you. Also, if we look very carefully, there's probably a trend line here as well. So let's go see what QQQ. Actually, trend is in the opposite direction. So let's increase our time frame. You can kind of see where we do have a little bit of a trend line, a 1-hour trend line. Or it's 30-minute trend line, excuse me. Let's go look at the 1 hour, which would translate to a 1-hour trend line. Hourly trend line. And boom, boom, boom. Kind of see it. Interesting. So either one or two things are going to happen in the longer term. Either we are actually going to make this push down today instead on QQQ. We see some weakness happening on YM and probably come down and bounce where I've got this 50. You see a little mini bounce in the pre-market a couple days ago. Come down here and bounce this 489.76. Probably take today and tomorrow. Or we're going to just go ahead and bounce right here. If you see here, we just avoided this. We were looking at potentially breaking. This is why you have to let for your candles to close. We were just looking for a 5-minute close below. And you can see it still some resistance, or excuse me, some support there. And we see this big old bounce. So I would have gotten killed on that if I would have tried to take that. And that's why sometimes they tell you don't follow. If you've already missed it, you've missed it. If we would have broken this, we would have entered kind of new territory. But because right up here at the top, we saw a reject, and then we see trailing down, and then we kind of see this push up here. This was the proper entry for it, for me in my system. And it's easier for me to see how to enter on the 1 minute. So if you go into 1 minute, what you see here is you see that we pushed all the way up. It's a very quick push up, a reject, showing that there is some supply there. And then we kind of meander right here on the 1 minute, and you see a small push up. And this is actually where I like to enter. And then the second one would be here, where it's kind of confirming that the buy volume is lost. You can see it down here on your volume. Kind of gives you the idea, hey, the buy volume might have just left, and that gives you an opportunity to enter with the sellers. So this would have been the best, safest entry right here when we were getting ready to close out this candle. But I definitely missed out on it. I was walking away from my computer, just feeling like, hey, I'm going to wait till after 12:30, and now we're kind of in the chop zone. So we're about 20 minutes later at 12:12. You can see what they did here. They bounced us off of the pre-market high, put us up in a chop zone, and then eventually they just did a flush down over the last like 10 minutes. So could have been a profitable trade, but if I was trying to take that trade here, I needed it to close below. This still actually hasn't closed below, but looking at what's happening with QQQ, it is a good chance that we're about to bleed. This right here is the trend line. We just touched the trend line. We're having a reaction off the trend line. We looked at this on the 15-minute. It's pretty close to perfection. But again, I don't want to chase. On a 15-minute, the larger time frame, you can see here, came down. Again, this would have been the great entry point. Push down, bounce back up. We tried this line, which is a fib line, and then pushes back down. At this point, what I'm looking for now is I just got to wait for a bounce, potential bounce, maybe another lost day, or they could wait to give you a good move toward the end of the day. Right now, we're about 12:15. I'm thinking what they're probably going to do, if I were just making a guess, it's probably going to push us down. We're probably going to test this on SPY. And that's going to be on SPY. This is yesterday's close. This is pre-market low. It's probably going to test one of those two things. And then we're probably going to make a move back up to reach a higher high. If we break structure and we come back up and retest, we retest from the bottom side, which is kind of, you can kind of say we might be doing that now, but I need to close below a retest of the pre-market high and then a push down for me to do anything. So we need to come down, come back up, retest, and then come down. First price target, second price target. First price target, second price target. So this is just like 5 minutes after our last little cut. You can see where it pushes up, comes up. So that was the retest. I didn't get a close below, so I didn't enter. And the big piece here is you could say, hey, well, you should have entered. You kind of saw it. And that would be a higher risk entry. At my account size, I need low risk entries. So I would have needed to close below, to come back up and retest. And this still could happen, by the way. So because what's happening here is we're testing the 200 SMA and the 100 SMA on the 5 minute, which is, for me, typically pretty strong levels. You can see here we actually bounced those levels early. So if we bounce again, we come back up here and reject that'd actually be an excellent place for me to enter. So now I'm watching real carefully because we're entering into a nice time frame. We're at about 12:18. You can see we're bouncing here, but we need to close. If we get the close and we open and we push higher and then we see some red come in here, showing us that this is now officially turned into resistance. So it's been Swiss cheese today. And then you saw it with support here. So now if that support, see right here, it turned into support. If that support then turns into resistance, that's kind of what we're looking for. Yeah, it's looking like I might end the day without a trade or something close to it. See here, we're still holding the 200. We did a bounce off the 200, and then we did a reject off of VWAP here. Push back down, and we're bouncing again. So I need for the market to change structure before I can feel comfortable taking a trade. It looks like we have a little bit more volume starting to come back in, but if you look on a 5-minute, it looks sparse. It's in and out. But if you take a look on a 15-minute chart, we've got kind of a mixed bag where we had the lull here and we saw increasing volume, and then now we see a little decline. So this candle is actually going to be a big candle. For me, the 1245 candle is usually a big indicator candle for me in terms of what kind of day it is. I believe whatever move they're going to make at this point, they're going to make between 1 and 130. Timing does play a factor in the markets. I just got this feeling that somewhere around 130, they're going to pull a move. We're chopping up this zone. This is still, but keep in mind, this is still a very tight range. The range for the whole day has been a low of 562.10 and a high of 564.47. You can see here. So that's only $2.30. I usually like a nice $3 range, and that's a solid range for a day. And we're probably going to get there. It's probably just going to come later in the day. But, it's a lot of up and down, back and forth moves. You can see a lot of wicks. Whenever there are a lot of wicks, that means both sides are playing strong. There's no clear indication of who's going to win, other than you can see the chart moving down. But again, it's holding a level. This is the 100 SMA on the 15-minute chart. And if you notice, it's about the same place where you have the 200 and the 100 on the 5-minute chart. And for me, that's a big indication that this is going to serve as support today. And we can break below it. Now, I could have taken this reject here for a very small scalp, but for me, the risk reward wasn't strong enough, so I didn't want to take that. And that's another measure that I've learned over the last 2 years, really important to me, is if I want to take a setup, I've got to make sure I see the risk reward ratio working in my favor, so that even if I take a loss, I can feel confident knowing that my potential upside was there. Right now, can't see it. I mean, if you look at it right now, and again, here we're at 12:48 in 30 seconds. It looks like, we're going to possibly bounce this and push up. Hard to tell, though. Hard to tell. So here we are. We're coming up on VWAP again. You can see there's still a little bit of resistance, but the indication from this candle and the volume that's coming into this 5-minute candle kind of gives us the inclination that we're gonna push up, and it would be hard for me to see where we would reject because we've already played this out a little bit. If we rejected here, that would actually be disappointing. At this point, you really want to see the push up and take off. We'll see. Okay, here we are. We're at 149. Last time we checked in, we were bouncing. This 200 SMA pushed up. was looking for a break, would have liked a break, but the market's going to hold us in a range. Probably going to hold us in a range until power hour. So we'll check back in then. Again, it's about 150 right now. So we're at 3 o'clock. We're entering power hour. And the big thing that I got from today, because you always got to review your trading day, didn't take a trade today. Missed a small move here on my chart. I was away from my computer at that moment. Also, missed a small move. Missed a small move here because I was away from my chart. Missed a small move here on the bounce. Those are really the two that were most for me. Could have taken something down here, but that early in the market, there was a big divergence between the Dow and the NASDAQ, so didn't really want to get into it. Here we got too choppy. I expected an uptrend entry. They made the move, rejected here a little bit and then kept going. Kind of saw that as a possibility, but it's not exactly my trade, not exactly my style. After we tested the line so many times, starts getting to a point where we might actually lose it. So we're at power hour. Probably will not take a trade today. Hard to say. I do get a lot of good trades coming in right before 3:30, so may do something. But I want to say that really the thing that I learned from today was probably the last 2 or 3 days seemed like QQQ or the NASDAQ was really leading the effort, because if you look, this is a previous 50% retracement. Didn't want to use that because we had already covered it yesterday, but it looked like that area worked because we also had the pre-market high there. Secondly, could have taken a bounce here. And thirdly, could have taken a reject here. So when we get down here, this is like no man's land, so probably wasn't for me. I didn't have 493 as a level on my chart. So in that respect, I feel like I held court, protected capital today, live to trade another day. If anything comes up, I'm going to stop the video at this point. So like and subscribe if you want to see more trading days. I know this one wasn't very eventful, but at least walked you guys through what it's like to be a trader, thinking, and obviously you're working with your capital and you're not just taking willy-nilly trades. Definitely hit like, subscribe for more videos like these that are going to be coming forward. It's kind of the way I'm going to move forward with my trading. I think it's also good because I get to talk out my trades as they're happening. And hopefully you guys find some benefit in it. Again, like and subscribe. Comment if you have any questions. And look forward to another video.